You're listening to Remotely One, a podcast that educates, entertains, and inspires you to take your life back from the office commute. I'm Rick, a former beer rep who left the warehouse to become a voice actor and digital creator.
And I'm Kaleem, a remote work advocate and consultant. We're going to speak with some of the top professionals who have managed to avoid the commute as they share stories from the most inspiring to the most comical, all while working remotely.
Man, this sounds awesome. Let's clock in.
I was in the marching and symphonic bands as a trumpet player, pretty serious trumpet player.
So were you in the white band or the black bands? Let's just ask, because like, were you just going, or you like,
Let me tell you something. White bands for sure. I was Beverly Hills High School, and then we played Inglewood High School in our league, and they had their band at the fucking basketball games, and they would be playing the most modern, like the newest song that just came out. And I'd swear to God, I'd be in the court in the heat of battle, and I'd be like, no way, are they playing like Little John right now?
Yeah, right.
And it was so cool. Yeah. And I'm like, why don't we get to play those songs? We're playing It's a Small World at the football game.
Shut the fuck. It's a small world after all. Yeah. And you're like,
Hello and welcome back to Remotely One. You already know the one and only Kaleem Clarkson, and I am your guest host, Laurel Farrer. Kaleem, thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. I am crazy excited.
Thank you so much. I mean, you want to talk about reaching out to friends? I called Laurel this morning at 8 a.m, like, yo, I need a co-host. Would you help me? And what did you say, Laurel?
I said, let me move a meeting. And I'm there because nobody says no to Kaleem. Come on. It's a party. Gosh. Always it's a party.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's going to be a blast. And thank you to everyone listening and watching for you to be here as well. You already know how to find us because obviously you're here. So what we would appreciate as long as you're here is to please do us a great big favor and go to ratethispodcast.com/remotely one and leave us a review. Again, that's ratethispodcast/remotely run. And we would be so grateful for that, especially this episode because yours truly is here, so I would really like to upvote so that Kaleem invites me again. Like, wow, this episode performed really well. I wonder what the X factor is.
I mean, or it could be our guest. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Our guest has a great mustache. We'll see that.
I was gonna say, like, I might be the reason, Laurel, that you actually don't get. But be like, there's a creepy guy with a mustache on the podcast.
It's on. So yes, please go cast that vote really quickly. We'd really, really appreciate it. And Remotely One is definitely earning that vote. This is one of the largest communities of remote work professionals in the world, and it's been established since 2015. So OGs, my friends, we have over 3,000 Slack members, 5,000 email subscribers, and you are an important part of that. So please make your voice heard, share that rate and review, and any comments, and come and network and have fun in the community. So remotelyone.com if you want to learn more. And then now all of that housekeeping is out of the way. Kaleem, tell us about who we are going to be dazzled by today.
Okay. So, Laurel, you may not know this, but I get so nervous, I start sweating and shit. And I have this special shirt that I wear that has like these maxi pads in it so that I don't sweat through my shirt and you see sweat stain. And you know what? This guest today makes me just as nervous. Let me tell you about our guest. This guest makes me crazy nervous. Not only do they have, the mustache that, usually accompanies a van, but, our guest is also from LA, grew up in LA, and lives between New York and LA. So what do you think about that?
They're bougie like that. I mean, obviously, fly over.
Unfortunately, he's a Clippers fan, but that's okay. We're not going to talk about that. Our guests, they know some shit. They have some intellects. They graduated from UCLA's Anderson School of Business with their MBA. Damn it.
We've just got flex after flex here. Come on. Let's bring some humility to the table here.
Yes, let's see. They got their start in finance on the marketing team of a hedge fund. Okay, coffees for closers. Coffees for closers. Let's see, what else do we have?
Please bless some stories come from that hedge fund. I cannot wait to hear the bloodbath that happened.
Yeah, we'll definitely start. You can start with that. We can start with that. Let's see.
I'm noting that, putting a pin in that.
Something most people don't know about our guest today is that he was in a marching band and a symphonic band. I can't even say symphonic right. Okay? So he knows how to play the trumpet. But then also, in addition to that, don't trip. Because this dude has hops. He has hops and he can ball. He was the token white guy. On his AAU team. They were nationally ranked. And guess who his teammate was, Laurel? Guess who his teammate was?
Julie Andrews.
Little Romeo, Master P. Master P. You know about Master P. Oh my gosh, Little Romeo
Good
was his
thing
teammate.
that the marching band was in there, because we would all be like hearts aflutter at this point. So thank you, Bo, for bringing a slice of humility and that little humble pie to the table, because we needed that addition to the buffet.
I wanted to make sure you guys knew that I was a human being and not this perfect god from LA, this bi-coastal king that built a home sharing network to help him actually afford things.
So our guest today, Laurel, right? Our guest today, they are currently the co-founder of Kommu, which is a social marketplace for trusted, and affordable home sharing. Listeners and viewers, please give a warm welcome to Bo Abrams! Let's go!
Never once did they cheer for me like that in basketball.
Settle down, studio
Take you
audience.
back to the court. No.
Settle down, studio audience. Sorry about that, Bo. Our studio audience is crazy. They can't help it. I'm so sorry about that.
Especially with Bo. I mean, they just get all aflutter.
Oh, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining, sir. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
That's awesome, man.
And Laurel, thanks for showing up. If I called my friends and said, hey, I need you as an emergency guest on my podcast, then I did have a podcast, by the way, they would have said, Bo, you need to not have a podcast. Nobody cares about what your opinion is.
That is not the case with Kaleem.
That is not the case.
Exactly.
That is not the case. People care. They want to hear from you.
Hey, the stats don't lie. I've been a listener. I'm a fan.
That's awesome, man. Appreciate that.
I'm so excited. Can we just jump in? Because I'm so excited.
Let's do it.
Okay, Bo, I'm hearing SaaS platform. I'm hearing basketball. I'm hearing hedge fund. What is happening? Take us to the very beginning. Where did your career start? What is your origin story?
Oh, man. So, again, Kaleem got born and raised 1992, Los Angeles, California. But yes, through that journey, I was an athlete. I was a musician. I was doing all the right things, I thought, to try to go to, great schools. My dad, went to junior college, graduated from University of Maryland, put himself through school. My mom didn't graduate college. And this was all new, I think, to me and my sisters. And so I applied to schools. I thought good grades, did all the right things. And I got absolutely wrecked and didn't get into any of the colleges I wanted. And I lost to all of the rich kids, poor me, but the rich kids that had the consultants and the tutors and the whole shebang. And I was like, bummer. That being said, I bounced around a little bit. It's a longer story. I ended up finding this liberal arts college, Haverford in Philly, played basketball there, met some of my closest friends. And I remember they were interviewing. I transferred as a junior. They were interviewing on campus. And somebody comes to campus and they're interviewing for a hedge fund. And I'm like, what's a hedge fund? And they offered me the job. And it was for an analyst position, but I actually didn't get that position. They were like, listen, if you want to come and be an assistant to start, you can earn your way up and make it happen. So I did that. I was serving coffee. I was doing all the, kind of like being in the mailroom. Met the guy that did the analyst job. Exactly.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't the closer. I'm serving the closers.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
It was a very intense competitive place, which I did love as an athlete, but it was also my first exposure into just the work world. And I was like, these people are the smartest, most ambitious people ever. And, I'm very interested in it, but I also felt like it was a long haul for me to actually be a contributor in such a, big industry. So I ended up then going to a startup that was called Steelhouse at the time. Now it's called Mountain.
And you're still doing finance? or are you doing something different?
So this is now me pivoting away from finance more
Got it.
into an operational role because I wanted to get some
Okay.
exposure to being at a startup. And I think I had a little bit of an inclination towards, being just in a smaller company. Like I wanted to be a little bit more hands-on and early stage. And so I did that. And at this moment in time, there's a separate, longer story that really is that, it has to do with a friend. She had a disease and we were raising a nonprofit for her, and it kind of exposed me to venture healthcare. I then was realized, yeah, and there's a lot of really, I will say this really is a fascinating story, but it is to say, I really thought I want to go into that world because I think I could make a difference, and I'm going to apply to business school as a place to kind of pivot into that. And so this go around, I'm like, I'm not losing to the rich kids. I took all the money I had, and I took the GMAT 7 times, which is the exam that you take to get in.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Let's just stop. Let's stop on that.
That's right.
That is perseverance.
Oh, and I'm still mad.
A round of applause for
I agree.
7 times, bro. 7 times. Now, I mean, basically, you get a ton of points for putting your name on it. We've heard. So, I mean, it's good that you took it 7 times, but, I'm sure your friends crack on you all the time about it.
First, let me just paint a picture again for you, right? This is me in 2019 being like, hey guys, I can't go out with you right now. I can't go have fun because I am applying to business school and I need to do this to get to, Harvard or Stanford. And everybody that doesn't know about business school, it is amazing. You do meet great people. It's also just an opportunity to travel and it's a little bit more fun. It's not law school. I'm setting myself, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Grind right now. And then you're going to get into a great school, and now your career will take off, and everything's going to be great. And I end up getting the consultant and everything too. And I did not end up getting into Harvard or Stanford or Wharton or the schools I wanted to. And COVID hits. And then I'm like, why did I spend the last year of my life isolated in my apartment studying, only to, then do what we all were doing?
For another year, yeah.
I was like, had I known that was going to happen, I think I would have made different life choices.
Right. So at this point in your life, you're like, look, I tried.
Lonely is what you are.
Yeah, definitely lonely. Lonely. But at this point, you've tried the hedge fund thing. He's like, yeah, it was cool. It was a great experience. But I'm like, yeah, this probably isn't for me long term. You know what I mean? So I go into this venture health space, and you're like, damn, I can help people. I can save the world. But I feel like in order for me to do that, I need to go back to school so that I can maybe, catch up with some organization or some nonprofit or start some company. And then COVID hits and just crushes your dreams.
Yeah, and I was slated to go to another school back east. And I remember I was in a relationship at the time too. And I did not want to get up and leave my family and that relationship and everything in the middle of COVID, because it was kind of weird being like, all right, everybody, we're on lockdown. Don't move. And then I was like, peace, I'll see you later. I'm going back east. And so I applied to UCLA, and the same story as my co-founder. We both applied to UCLA like round 3, which is typically nobody gets in round 3 because there's just no spots. There's fewer spots available.
Yeah.
And we both got pretty much scholarships. I got half, he got a full ride, but I think it was because UCLA was freaking out about getting students into campus, like getting them from across the country. And they're like, Bo's down the street and he's going to go to a different business school if we don't, sweeten the deal a little bit.
It's button to seat. Yeah.
So we both ended up, like, the whole story of Kommu really actually started right around there, where like we both, if it weren't for that, tragic, obviously, pandemic, if it weren't for that, we would have never met. We would have both gone to different business schools and had completely different lives.
Wow.
Okay. So you gave us a little teaser there of like, well, that was the spark of starting Kommu, right? Tell us that origin story. So like,
yes. And you're seeing you are, I think, also ultimately seeing the through line here, which is like, again, I am the luckiest person I know. I have a great family, a great community of friends, and I think I've given myself the most self-imposed, hurdles just by the choices I make of like, try to be a collegiate athlete, try to go into the top careers, like go to business school, like take the GMAT 7 times. And then of course, instead of going and getting a nice high paying job, go be a founder in the worst startup downturn in the last 20 years. Yeah.
You're ambitious.
You see the gray hair. I'm 32 going on 50, but I'm having a good time.
So something had to have happened when you're in college, when you're hanging out. What was that specific event or spark?
So what ended up happening for me was it was right before school. And because I worked so hard on those GMATs, and got into school, I decided I needed some time off. I needed a vacation. So I'm looking around and like things are just starting to open up and people are starting to travel again, the pandemic. And Whitefish, Montana just like really caught my eye. And me and my girlfriend at the time decided, let's go to Whitefish. And I
Because Montana is dope, man. Montana's the best.
Oh, when Kommu hits, I'm going right to Whitefish, Montana. That's where it's the villain origin story all the way through of like, it's where it started and it's where it ends.
Full circle.
Montana is amazing, and it was just so beautiful. And so I go and I book an Airbnb, and 4 nights at this kind of crappy Airbnb in Montana was half my rent for the month in Los Angeles. Wow. And as a renter, and most of us in these major cities, right, it is our most expensive expense and asset. 100%. And I'm like, I remember like we were struggling to find a rental car, and Turo was just emerging, and we used Turo. And I remember thinking, you know, if people are doing this with their cars, like, why can't I do this with my home? And the argument would be, that's Airbnb. But really, that's where we discovered something was off. And I started really thinking about it and percolating on it. And then all of a sudden, she dumps me because she realizes I'm broke. I go to business school. But I did have a great trip. But
look at me now, bitch! Look at me now! Sorry.
Look at me now. I am clearly successful just because I'm wildly successful, still based on potential.
That's called valuation, sir.
Yeah.
That's called valuation.
I've got a lot of upside, and you could still buy low. But I do go to school, and I remember meeting my co-founder Gus, and I remember I will say, like, that GMAT story at UCLA, they say if you get over a 710, which is like 90th percentile, you've got to put it on the top of your resume, like you've earned it. And like it's, you know, you're about to ship this off, and we're in this 5-6 person Zoom class, and I'm like about to present, and I'm thinking like, they don't know that I took this test 7 times. Like, you know, I'm about to impress my classmates here and show them like I'm a smart guy. And I swear to God, a guy gets on before me with a mustache, and I see he's got a red shirt on, and it just looks like the white letters on top. I can barely see him. Like, that looks like Stanford. Oh no. Shares his resume on the Zoom screen, 780, like basically a perfect score.
Wow.
Stanford undergrad, and a killer mustache, which again, villain origin story. That's why I have the mustache now.
Yes,
I got to let him know.
Yes.
But we ended up becoming friends. I was humiliated about having to present after him my GMAT score that was not in a 780. But we were talking, and we were both like, why are we even in business school? Like we're trying to network over Zoom, which is stupid. Like, this is all awful when you're trying to do this for business school.
Right.
And we realized we were both remote capable workers at those last jobs that we had before business school. And we were both making pretty decent money. And yet we both could not afford to travel. And that problem, we're like, what are the chances that that's just us? And now all of a sudden the pandemic has changed everything. We're not the only people that are remote capable. It's not just startups or tech. It's a lot of jobs. 100 million people are now able to do what we did, but could they afford to do it? Yeah. And the answer, we believed, was no. And so initially we heard of this website called Home Exchange. And I don't know if you guys have swant the movie The Holiday.
Of course.
So
you guys have your little sports analogies. This is my zone of genius. We want to talk chick flicks. That's why I'm here.
So Gus and I are like, we're looking into this, like because we're like looking at this website. We had never heard of it, and we find out later in that movie they booked the home swap on homeexchange.com.
Nice.
And we're looking at this website and we're looking into it, and mind you, we're working other jobs at this point. We're in school, like we're doing a lot of things. They are doing estimated $30 million in annual recurring revenue. And we're like, this platform isn't that impressive, no offense, but we're like, we're not really impressed with the product. And then if you logged in, everybody on there was like a 45 to 64-year-old homeowner. And I was getting a lot of inbound from that. And I was just thinking, I'm like, they don't really have the problem. Like, they actually have all the wealth in the country, but if you look at the people that are traveling the most, those people that are going into massive levels of debt just to have experiences and to live their lives, it's millennials and Gen Zers, and they cannot list on an Airbnb. And so initially we built a home swapping platform, and it was called Swapt, SWAPT.
And probably not a great domain name, and probably a little bit of porn.
I mean, hey, a different target audience. Okay.
Well, I will say the irony being that there is a competitor now in Europe called Swapped, and I'm like, I'm an OG. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying we're OG.
Yes.
But yes,
Respect that.
that was the beta. That was like the whole thing. We're like, can we make a young person swapping platform? And there's competitors in the market that do it now. Like there's a movement happening, but that's all to say, we realized we couldn't for a lot of reasons. We thought it wasn't going to scale for it's really hard to match people, whatever it might be. But what really happened was we won the largest pitch competition at UCLA between the business schools and the law schools.
Why are we even in law? Why are we even in business school anyway?
Right.
Well, because this was for some cashish. This is for $30,000, and when you're in debt in business school,
Hells yeah.
you're going to enter into some competitions and try to make it happen.
Yeah.
Or as my basketball coach used to say, millions.
Millions. Shout out UCLA. Shout out UCLA. We'll
No. This is. I went to junior college for a bit, and my coach would be like, "Hey, Bo, are you making millions playing basketball?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, then shut the fuck up. Like, until you make millions."
No, I was saying shout out to UCLA for giving you guys the funding. Yeah, shout out. Let's give them
Yes,
some
that
love.
was to the end of the yes, exactly. And we won and really looked into these rules and these ordinances because like we were like, hey, city of LA, city of New York, like just a heads up, like we're starting a home swapping platform. No, there's no money being exchanged. We're just people are swapping, but like we take a small fee for facilitating that, for insuring it, whatever. And the city of LA was like, yeah, we're gonna regulate you, like absolutely completely fall into these ordinances and you will be regulated. And we're like, oh, that's weird. Like fine, but that's good news, and it helped us win the competition because we dug in there and really did the work.
Oh, okay.
But then we're thinking, how come when you look at all these platforms, like we're seeing people post on Instagram every day about sublets, we're seeing people in Facebook Marketplace, on Craigslist, turning to all these really inefficient tools and networks to do this. How come they're not getting regulated? And it's because they're networks. And there's this like light bulb moment where we're like, wait a second, this is what people prefer. When we talk about trust, it wasn't going to be this high-end membership vetted community that doesn't scale and that's very like elitist in a lot of ways, right? It's really that you trust who you know and through who you know. When we were doing these swaps, people were like, how do I trust this person? Oh, Kaleem's a mutual friend? Like, let me ask him. And we were like, wait a second. If you put a marketplace out there where people can swap, they can sublet, they can gift, they can pet sit, they can do it. It's this idea that we're all moving more than ever before. If you put that out there and you centralize your network, you have thousands of homes available to you at any moment in time. I can't tell you how many times I was going to New York and I'd come back and a friend would be like, oh, dude, my place was empty. Like, why didn't you stay there? And I'm like, because you didn't text me out of your way in LA that your place was going to be available because we were taking a trip to San Francisco at the same time.
Yeah.
And so we were like, that's it. So we built Kommu to allow you to share your home with and through the people you trust on your terms. You can control who sees your home, what you charge, if you charge at all, what you need. And it's all based on relationships, and we take no transaction fees. And that is Kommu in a nutshell.
No transaction fees. How do you make money?
First off, money is a made-up concept.
I love it. So we necessarily don't have, just to clarify, because I heard you just throw that in there, like we actually don't have to have a financial transaction. I could say, hey, I'm going to LA, you're in New York. We can literally just swap houses and no financial transaction has happened.
We have groups on Kommu. So like we, for instance, have a home swappers group and people can list for swap on the platform. But the point being, ultimately, like it's at your jurisdiction for whatever trip you have. So for me, for instance, like when I'm gone for a weekend, I typically would just list that to just my 10 closest friends and I'd never charge them and they would do the same. When I'm gone for a month, I really need that rental money, but I'm not charging a premium. And this kind of speaks to how we make money and we're about to turn all those features on. But the idea is Kommu is free for you to use with your friends. And the utility beyond just coordinating when the place is available, who you trust to share your home with, is also that you can use it as find my friends at the city level. So you could be like, who do I know that lives in New York? Who's traveling to New York at the same time? Like, how do we make sure that we connect on that trip? But when you want to get to friends of friends or to groups or to people listening to all of Kommu, you then pay a subscription fee. And basically for one night at an Airbnb per year, you break even if you do just one booking of 1 or 2 nights, literally as a host or guest. And people are listing their homes for cost. And that's like the big kicker away from these ordinances. We're saying you cannot list your home for a premium If you do, we are going to get regulated. We have to enforce that you are listing your home just to recoup your rent, and you have a right to do that. And that creates a lot of value for people that are looking for affordable places. And it's really targeting hosts.
Cool.
It's hosts like me that can't list on Airbnb, but allow, like right now I'm in New York and I'm pet sitting. I mean, technically it's my girlfriend's place, and but she's
in your network.
It counts. But I have a friend of a friend staying in my place in LA and paying my rent right now, and it's totally kosher, and it's saved me financially at a very financially
because then you don't have to
time.
get the pet sitter and the house sitter and
So you're replacing your costs. When I heard you just kind of throw that in there, it's like, because you're only recouping the cost that you would have for your normal mortgage, you got around the regulation.
Yeah, I mean, like we agree with the regulation. I mean, I look, people are greedy. I'm greedy. Like if I could make more money, I wouldn't, but like if I'm on Airbnb, I don't want to know that Laurel is a friend of a friend, because
you don't care.
I'm trying to make as much money as possible.
South by Southwest is in town.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jack up the rates to like $3,000 a night.
But look at what happened. This is New York, and there's a longer story here, but I will not go on a rant about this. But like in this accelerator program that we went to, is right when the regulations were pushing Airbnb out of New York, and that was really the hotel lobby doing that. But we agree, like you shouldn't have people buying second and third homes, listing them for profit. Like it hurts the community. It should be regulated. But look what happened. If you get rid of Airbnbs in New York, hotel prices have skyrocketed. It is just pure supply and demand. And so we're saying to regulators, we're consumer protection. People have no other options. They are going to continue to turn to the Facebooks and the WhatsApps and everything else. And if you regulate us, you have to regulate them. And good luck. So you can either work with us and help consumers, or you can fight us, and it's going to be a dogfight.
And awesome properties too, right? Because what happened with the rise of remote work? Everyone was like, oh, wait, I don't have to live in a fish box. I'm going to go live in whatever kick-ass property I can afford way out in Big Sky, Montana. And that's where they went to. And so remote workers on average have really unusual and cool properties because they don't have to commute to an urban center. And so if you can get like those connections of remote workers. So like, is that the tie to remote work, or is there like a different spin or perspective or a connection that you feel with the remote work movement?
Yeah, well, I will say there would be no Kommu without the remote work movement, right? It was that unlocking of demand, because like before COVID, at that hedge fund, for instance, like I would work all year. Most of my life would be spent in that cubicle, and then I would have 14 days of paid vacation. And you better believe I'm dropping the money I've made on a hotel, and I'm,
exactly,
like, done deal. But then all of a sudden now I can really work and live anywhere. So can so many people. And if we can't afford hotels, we can't afford Airbnbs, which, by the way, for singles or couples that are traveling, are more expensive than hotels.
Try having a family, man. Like I have to rent out like a suburb. It's awful.
So we're like, that is the tie to remote work for us, is saying this is a movement of people moving more than ever before. And you're totally right. They have beautiful homes. The thing is, digital nomadism was there before COVID. And I think the problem was that was people bouncing around to different places without really feeling like tethered in some way to their home, their most intimate asset. And so these remote workers now, they're like, yeah, no, I have a great house. It is in Whitefish, Montana. But if I want to go to New York for a month, I want somebody I trust in there, and I want a way to be able to not have the sunk rent problem and then go to New York for what I need to do.
The network is such an interesting spin, and so valuable too, because like if somebody's sleeping in my bed and feeding my dog, like I want to make sure that I trust them. And even if I don't know them directly, I want to make sure that somebody that I trust them. Like that's amazing. I love that epiphany.
It's so funny too that you say that, Laurel, because we've tested this, and like women by far and away care much more about trust and safety. And so investors and advisors in Kommu that were like, hey, we really want a women in travel network that they run completely. Gus and I are not in it, and like we build, whatever features they want for it.
Yeah.
But when we marketed and tested, like that was the primary concern of women traveling and lodging. Men were much more financially motivated. They were much more about like recouping money, which sounds about right.
So I got a question as far as like, where do you kind of see this thing heading moving forward, right? So you've been doing this what year did you guys actually launch and start placing people?
Yeah.
Was it 2022?
I mean, technically speaking, 2021 was when we really started facilitating swaps and doing it all basically manually, like doing a lot of the things that you're supposed to do as a startup just to learn. But we launched the mobile app technically in January of 2023 with a public beta. I would say we really launched full-fledged August of 2023.
Okay. So we're reading a lot of all of these return to office mandates. There's lots of companies, requiring people to return to office. Commercial real estate's putting a big pressure on what we need to do. You're starting to see a lot of empty buildings still. Where are you kind of seeing things trending? I mean, you've been up and running for about a year now. Are you seeing a decline in bookings? Or are you still seeing an uptick? And do you think workplace flexibility and remote work is going to continue moving forward?
Great. It's a great question. And I think obviously I can only speculate with what I see. And I'm also incredibly biased at this point in time,
100%.
As your listeners know. But I really believe that this is a paradigm that has fundamentally shifted how we work and live forever. And, for all that Gus and I have done as founders, we really honestly have this really unique privilege of just basically being able to listen to the Airbnb management team that we think is amazing, like Brian Chesky, the CEO, write the script on what to do and why and where things are going, with the opportunity of Kommu essentially being a regulatory moat, this idea that Airbnb can't build what we're building without basically putting at risk this massive short-term rental business that they've created. And so they, I think, are totally right that hybrid is here to stay. It is that these millennials and Gen Zers, particularly the Gen Zers, they do not want to be told that they have to sit in a cubicle all day long. They will literally go into debt. They will they will proliferate on the consumer economy. Like, it doesn't matter. It's the commercial real estate property managers that are doing everything they can to try to get people back to office. On top of that, though, young parents and pet owners also don't want to go back to the office.
Yeah.
And so
everyone got their pandemic puppy. Everyone did.
Exactly. And so
either puppy or human puppy, either way, something happened.
Or both.
or both. Right.
I just isolated myself in my apartment trying to build Kommu faster. But that, again, was a sacrifice.
So now that you can take care of other people's pandemic puppies.
Exactly. Yeah. It's working out. This is working out.
So you feel people got a taste, right?
But yes, I will say everything is going in our book up and to the right because we're just a startup that's growing. As more people hear about us, they are booking up with us, they're building their networks, and that's been great. Obviously, it takes a lot of time and learning to find that proper thing that's going to just really make Kommu that massive outcome that we think can go head to head with an Airbnb. And I say that as crazy as it sounds to say, I really believe that if you look around any city, look around anywhere, primary homes are offline. It's either because renters like me can't list, but we really have a financial need, or it's people with really nice homes that would never want a stranger sleeping in their bed and would never list on a short-term rental platform, but they still share homes amongst other people that they're friends with and through those people they trust. We are going to create an asset class of primary homes. Short-term rentals will remain second and third homes that people are just trying to make profit on and turn into investment vehicles. And then hotels will be there, of course, for those great, more luxurious stays. Short-term rentals, I think, will be more for group travel. That's all to say. We are all going to continue to travel more than ever.
Yeah.
Bar none. And then remote work will be here with plenty of remote jobs proliferating over the next, 30 to 40 years easily.
Preach. I love it. I mean, obviously we all agree. All three of us are really banking.
Yeah. We're on the Rolling On podcast, so we also agree with you. But I just really love the concept and, just the idea. We're seeing a lot more companies out there, including yours, looking at your rental as equity or let's not even say equity, what you're paying to live, whether that's a mortgage, whether that is rent, as equity, because it's a lot. Especially in the cities that you're talking about. So, what I also find fascinating is if you've ever purchased a home in an HOA and they say no Airbnb, right? Well, hey, I'm not Airbnb-ing. I'm just letting a friend of mine stay here. Yeah. So well done.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
working the loops. I love it.
Even though I'm more afraid of HOAs than anything because they seem to just be run by like moms that have nothing better to do than to just try to ruin my life, you know, and like everybody that I know that's dealing with
You're
an
not
HOA is just
You're-
like,
Listen, I was on the HOA, man. I was on the
Were you?
HOA.
look, I would be on the HOA too, and I know, but I'm just saying, like, there's a lot. They're basically pseudo government bodies that, like, just
Yeah.
you're
You
like,
got to
Yeah.
get. Hey, listen. You
Yeah.
have to. If you listen to the show, if you have an HOA, you have to get involved because a lot of times people that are
Yeah.
running the HOA,
They will take
they're
over.
in it for a reason.
yeah,
So
you
you
got
got
to
to
get
get
that power,
involved.
secure the
Yeah.
bag.
Just like our own, politics and stuff. You got to get involved.
Yeah.
So.
But Kaleem, I think you made a great point, by the way, about I will say just like the asset part of this whole equation, right? Which is just
Right.
to say, it's not just that things are expensive; it's that we're not getting paid quite enough to afford the things that we want to do. Like I said it earlier, I really believe it.
Mhm.
I'm the luckiest guy I know. I have worked incredibly hard. I've done the schools, I've done the jobs, and I am as broke as ever before. And I think a lot of people feel that way in my generation and Gen Z of like, maybe not Gen Z as much, but a little bit more of like, I did what I was supposed to do and I don't have retirement. I am in consumer credit card debt and I cannot afford to live the life I want to live unless I commit
Right.
to a corporate job that I don't feel
Mhm.
fulfilled in. So,
But I'm paying a $3,000 a month studio in New York. That's
Right.
worth
Yeah.
something. Hey, that might only be a $400 place in Montana. So maybe I can go to
Mhm.
Montana and enjoy that.
and you have, I think it's really that it's your right and almost your obligation as a human being to travel. Like we are in a globalized world and people, I feel like we're all better because of it. Like I truly did not travel a lot growing up. Partly it was financial, but partly it was also sports. Like we're all, my sisters and I, like we're in AAU, like whatever, like there's no time. And so as soon as I started traveling, I'm like, wow, I'm actually a better person when I get to meet people all over the world from different cultures, from different walks of life. And I'm like, there's a whole big world to see. I've got one life to live. I hope I have enough time to see it. And so I think remote work is the only way that we're going to actually ever be able to get some, portion of the globe covered.
I love it. Well, I genuinely, like, you convinced me. I am actually going to list my property on Kommu today. Like, this is
Let's
actually
go.
a solution that I have been looking for several years. So this was all very fortuitous that I came to this episode. So thank you. I'm super stoked about it. However, before we wrap up, I know that we're all here to hear about how bougie you are, Bo. However, you're so bougie. But why I listen to the Remotely One podcast is the best part, in my opinion, is when everybody shares their best comical comical or inspiring moment, right? But inspiring is in air quotes because don't give me that crap. I want to hear your most comical moment
Let's
that you
hear it,
had
baby.
while working remotely. Come
Let's
on, Bo.
go.
Do you have to be like necessarily working remotely, or are these just like comical moments that could just happen in the remote work paradigm?
Yeah, you know what? It's your show, Bo. It's yours. Hey, Bo knows. Bo knows. Okay.
I mean, no. I will say, and I think it's funny because I had another comical moment prepared, but this is actually true and funny.
Tell them both. You got time. You got
time.
time.
It is just that you guys were right. Like earlier before the podcast, I got up to go make sure that my backdrop wasn't so bad, and then Kaleem's like, "Good thing you're wearing pants," and you're right. It is a good thing I'm wearing pants because I have had the misfortune of like being on a Microsoft Teams meeting where you didn't close the browser and it's still running. And of course, it's a recorded meeting that like.
Oh no. Okay, we need the listeners and the viewers. They need to understand the situation. So okay, what was going on? Set us up. Where are we? What year is it?
How much of you are we seeing, Bo? That's what we want to know. We need a vivid mental picture here.
Yeah,
it's like 20. This is 2021, maybe early 2022. We're getting ready to we're getting ready to graduate business school. We're really thinking like there's an opportunity here. Yep. Well, look again. It's like you're like I want to get paid to work hard, and I did the opposite. I've never worked harder in my life and made so little money, but we're starting to talk to potential investors. I had worked in VC during business school, and like we're scouting the market.
So you're pitching all the time, doing decks.
The whole shebang, and it's a good pitch is it's just back to back Zooms. You're playing your game. It's a sales process. And this one, I forget the exact fund, but I will say they were using Teams for their meeting. And I thought, we were kind of in a Zoom environment, but fine. And, I did the pitch. I thought it went fine. And then I'm like, I take a break and I add a little bit of a window. I definitely am like, it's time to shower. It's time to kind of like,
you air out. You need to air out. You need to air
exactly.
out, bro. You need to air out. Okay.
Exactly. And then I'm like, and
Okay.
my workstation is in my living room area. And so like, I just shower and I'm literally like in a robe because I didn't like, but I'm like, I'm not ready to get dressed. I need to dry off a little bit.
Is it a fluffy robe? Is it fluffy with the big fluffles around the neck? I mean, tell the truth, bro.
It's so much worse than that, which is
it's low. It's Patrick Swayze, isn't it? We're seeing chest.
No, well, hang on. Well, I'll say this: the robe is the worst part of the story. The best part is somehow the least embarrassing part is that I don't know if somebody saw me, but I did see that somehow. I'm like, why is my Zoom not basically loading in the way that I would prepare for the next meeting? And it was because Teams was still on, and I'm like, oh no! Like if that person was still there, like if it was the same link. You know, like this, that's it. Like I'm humiliated for life. So that was that. But the problem was the robe, which is, it was a Kommu robe. I have a Kommu robe. Gus and I thought
that's the most LA thing that I've heard in a while.
Gus and I thought that we could sort of kickstart Kommu by selling robes, because the Airbnb founders famously kickstarted Airbnb and getting into YC, the accelerator, by selling cereal. They took
cereal.
Regular.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was like the Republican and Democratic conventions with McCain and Obama.
Yeah.
And they would like take regular cereal and they would design it way cooler and call it like Obama Oats.
The robe's a great idea, bro. What are you talking about?
Imagine me and Gus on a Zoom, just like, we're going to sell robes and like slippers and like, you know, this is our Obama Oats. And so I literally make one robe. I take a photo of myself, this embarrassing annual Christmas photo that literally you can buy a calendar for. My girlfriend has it right here. It was on the website, bonelyfans.org. Again, horrible. This is all horrible. Just there's so much context here. That's to say.
Wait. Did you just slip in? It was on sale on OnlyFans?
I made a website called bonelyfans.org for the calendar, which included a photo of me. Now that I have 12 photos, including one in this Kommu robe. Yeah, you could see the VCs knocking down the door for trying to get into our deal right now.
This is amazing.
So that robe is so we post it and we're like, hey, pre-order the robe here. People are like, I love this. This robe's awesome. Like, I'm going to pre-order. Guess how many people pre-ordered that robe?
It's either like 5 or 5,000.
You're right. It is either like 5 or 5,000, or it's like 0. It's 0 people. Nobody.
Not even your mom or your sister?
Not even nobody. And so Gus, I think that was the first time Gus and I had doubts about our instincts as entrepreneurs.
I actually thought it was a great idea, bro. I thought the robe was great, man.
Well,
you should bring it back. Hey, can you send me one?
Kommu's got to succeed. I will send you. Well, look, check out. We got cooler merch now.
Yeah. Okay, Bo, tell us where to find you in general, but if everybody's falling in love with the Kommu robe and or hat right now, where do they come find you and your swag?
The worst part about being an LA founder is like, you come out and you're going to build some massive tech company, and then you end up being an apparel lifestyle brand that sells like, and that's my life in a nutshell.
LA, yeah.
So the merch is actually, it's for our best hosts that are posting about Kommu right now. Everything's still free, so we're giving away merch to people that are sharing Kommu with their friends.
So if I get some?
If you list and you post to your Instagram and share with your friends, we got dad hats, we got sweaters, we got the whole shebang. Robes.
I've got an 8-acre farmhouse in Connecticut, man. That better get a robe. That's worth a robe.
I will get you a robe. But but basically, go on Kommu, invite your friends, and if you do anything at all to help us scale and grow this authentically, I will personally mail you a robe, a hat, a sweater, all of it, anything you want, because it's all free and we're just here to help, and we want to make sure that we achieve what we can.
For anybody that's listening only, can you please spell Kommu?
Yes, it's Kommu. It is live in the App Store right now on iOS. We're working on Android. We so apologize, but if you want to go to gokommu.com, you can see this code to scan to get to the App Store. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. Our founder TikTok is Bo and Gus, but everything else is at GoKommu for our handles. And please don't judge my TikToks to try to get people to download.
Thank you. That's awesome, Bo. Thank you so much for coming by, man. It was a great episode. We had a great time. chatting with you. Laurel, thank you for being such a wonderful co-host. You're awesome. I promise to call you even closer to the timeline next time. And Laurel,
I need you in 45 minutes stat.
and Laurel, where can our listeners and viewers find you in the world of the interwebs?
LinkedIn is always the easiest. I'm the only Laurel Farrer, so you can just find me on LinkedIn or distributeconsulting.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. Can't wait to go out there in LA, man. Can't wait to check it out. So thank you so much.
Add me on Kommu, and you guys always have a place to stay in LA.
Ah, there we go.
Awesome, man. All right, I'll talk to you all later. Peace.
Thank you.
See ya. Thanks.
You've been listening to Remotely One. Visit us at remotely1.com/podcast for upcoming episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and download our episodes on your favorite podcast app.
Hey, don't forget to clock out.